Well, without further ado, let us turn the screen around and I will hand over to Nicki, who can give you a proper welcome to her city.
Prynawn da croeso a Cardiff, which is not swearing. It's good afternoon and welcome to Cardiff. And it's a lovely little city. It's the capital city of Wales. It's only been the capital city of Wales since 1955, so we're quite a little city. And we have got 18 parks, and we're going to be showing you a little bit of our park later on. But we're one of the greenest cities in the UK. And we've also appeared in TripAdvisor. So, if anyone's ever in England, oh my word, in the UK, pop over and have a look and visit us. And there'll be a warm welcome.
Fantastic. I can say, I love coming to Wales. I think Welsh people are very hospitable, even if you're English. So if you're coming from elsewhere in the world, you'll have no problems at all. We are standing in a little garden called Gorsedd Garden, and that is named after these standing stones that you can see in front of us. Now, these are not ancient standing stones like Stonehenge or something like that. These are part of the Welsh tradition of Eisteddfod. And an Eisteddfod is an annual celebration of Welsh culture, and it moves around to different towns and cities. And wherever the Eisteddfod goes, they put up a circle of stones like this to represent the fact that it has been there and it is continuing ancient traditions of Welsh culture, like poetry and singing and art and those kinds of things. And these stones were actually from the Eisteddfod in Cardiff in 1899. And they're here in this lovely little park, in a part of the city that is known as the Civic Centre, because it has some of the most important public buildings, and we're going to go and look at some of those in a moment. Now we're going to do a very well choreographed move here. Nicki's going to stay where she is for a second.
Okay, I'm staying.
I'm going to move this side.
Yeah.
So Jane's going to come and...
cool. There we go.
Shall I talk about the museum and then we'll talk about the statue afterwards? Because the museum we see as we walk towards it. So this beautiful building in front of us is the National Museum, Cardiff. So it's part of the Welsh National Museum's collection. And it really is an absolutely fantastic museum, free to enter. And it has exhibitions about all kinds of aspects of Welsh history, from geology, natural history, and the actual social history of Wales. But it also has a fantastic art collection as well, with world-famous artists represented, and as well as collections of art by Welsh artists. The building itself was built in the first few years of the 20th century. It was begun in 1905, but construction work had just about finished, but then the First World War started, and it didn't actually open to the public until after the World War had finished. But ever since then, it's been one of the most popular attractions in Cardiff, and absolutely worth a visit if you're ever in the city and want to find out a bit more about Welsh history. Absolutely great place to come, and a beautiful building as well. And we'll see the buildings in this part of town that were all constructed around the same time, all in a very similar, very grand, late Victorian, early 20th century style. In this case, by the architects Smith and Brewer. Now, looking at the museum here on a plinth, I'm going to get somewhere where we can see him quite well, is one of the most famous political figures in Welsh history. And Nicki's going to tell us a little bit about this redoubtable gentleman.
This is David Lloyd George, and his nickname was the Welsh Wizard because, and again, this is at time of doing this tour, it could change tomorrow, but he is our only Welsh Prime Minister, so the only Prime Minister in the UK that was born in Wales. Although he wasn't actually born in Wales, he was born in Manchester. But his father died when he was 1, and he moved up to North Wales with his mum. He was quite a feisty man, both politically and socially. So he had an affair with his secretary, but he was still married. He had 5 children, but one of them died when she was 17 from appendicitis, and that hit him really hard. But he became Prime Minister between 1916 and 1922. So that was right in the middle of the First World War. But one of his chief things that he's noted for is laying down the foundations for what we know today as the welfare state and old age pension. So he sort of laid the national insurance for people and, allowed people to sort of have the old age pension and what we now know as the welfare state.
Wow. And I know a little story about Lloyd George. Is anything else you want to tell us about him?
Don't think so.
Okay. I know a little story about David Lloyd George as well, because yesterday on my Christmas markets tour, we saw Birmingham Town Hall. And I know that on one particular occasion, Lloyd George was giving a speech there. And I think the local people in Birmingham were not too impressed with what he was saying. And so they snuck him out of the back door, dressed in the uniform of one of the policemen who was guarding the event. So the policeman basically was told to strip off his outer uniform. Lloyd George put it on over his suit and he escaped disguised as a policeman, which was kind of strange because Lloyd George was pretty short in stature. He would have failed the height test to actually become a policeman, but that's what they did to him. Now, as we make our way along here, we've got a second building of this collection of the Civic Centre, and this building is beautiful and really elaborate building. I'm going to try and get us past these 2 vans so we can get a better view of it. This is Cardiff City Hall, and it was built pretty much the same time as the museum. And when they started building it, it was due to be called Cardiff Town Hall, but by the time they'd finished building it, Cardiff had achieved city status in 1905. So they actually ended up calling it Cardiff City Hall. And it's a beautiful building. It's by 3 architects. I don't know whether they designed the whole lot between them or if each one was responsible for a particular section. They were called Stewart, Lanchester and Rickards. And just to show you some of the statues on it. At this end, we have a group of statues that symbolises Welsh unity and patriotism. And at the far end, we'll see shortly, there's one that symbolises, I believe it's Welsh culture. We'll get to that soon. But up on top of the dome, we have the Welsh national symbol, and that is a dragon. Do you know why the dragon is a Welsh national symbol, Nikki?
No.
It appears on the Welsh flag, but...
It's a story of 2 dragons, the red Welsh dragon and the white dragon of England.
Oh, okay.
Had a big battle, I believe, up in Snowdonia.
Oh.
The red dragon was triumphant.
Okay.
White dragon away.
So that's why the Welsh have a red dragon on there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Yay.
Claire used to be a guide.
Yeah.
So the Welsh red dragon defeating the English white dragon in a battle, according to legend. So here in the gardens, outside these beautiful buildings, is part of the Christmas events here in Cardiff. Winter Wonderland. You've got the big wheel, and there's also the skating rink is... Oh, I need to zoom out a bit. Sorry, I've zoomed in on the dragon, and now I'm zooming out.
There he is.
Casey, yes, the battle up in the mountains in Snowdonia, which kind of makes sense as a place for dragons to be. So Snowdonia, the big national park, mountainous national park up in North Wales. Now, I just wanted to show you the sign here because you'll see Cardiff City Hall and below it the equivalent in Welsh. So Wales has officially the two languages, English and Welsh, and all of the signs are bilingual. So all of the signs, whatever they say, it appears in both languages. And we'll talk a little bit more about Wales later. Snowdonia is beautiful, Casey. You're right. Beautiful scenery. And the thing that's great about Snowdonia, one of the things I love is the fact you can be in Snowdonia in the middle of the mountains, and then you can jump in the car in a very short drive, and you're on the beach on the North Wales coast.
Yay.
And I know Nicky's really chuffed that North Wales is getting a good mention here.
I am, but I'm very cross that they kind of had a fight with us and then we lost. You know, story of our lives, isn't it?
So we've seen these before, haven't we? We've seen these at the Goose Fair. We've seen them in some of the Christmas markets. These sweet and fudge stalls disguised as double-decker buses.
Delicious. Welsh fudge is the best. If you ever come to Wales, you've got to buy some fudge.
So here's a fantastic town hall, city hall clock here, which is 49 metres high. Very distinctive landmark of the city. One of your family lines came from Coed y Foel in North Wales.
Oh, lovely. Okay. Who was that?
That was MB. So.
Oh, cool.
And the other one of the two sets of statues here on the City Hall, look, poetry and music. So that's linking back to the Eisteddfod and the Welsh cultures. All right. Cool. Now, the third building we can see as part of this Civic Centre complex is the beautiful building opposite, and this is the courthouse. So this was built literally exactly the same time as the City Hall, and by the same three architects. So you had the political administration, and you had the legal side of the city as well. It has 9 courtrooms in it. It's still the main courthouse for the city. Another beautiful building here. And all of these buildings were built on what was formerly parkland, owned by a very important man called the 3rd Marquis of Bute. The balloons, MB, I think they're just for sale as, I'm not quite sure, I'm sure they do something like light up or something. So just for sale to people in the Christmas markets, I think. Let's head down here a little bit. And the 3rd Marquis of Bute came from a family who were very, very influential in Cardiff.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about him a couple of times. And he sort of sold all of this land here, or gave it to the Marquis of Bute, gave it to the city to build these buildings as Cardiff had grown and expanded. But on one stipulation, he stipulated that a triangular area in the centre of the area had to be left as a formal garden in perpetuity. That was a stipulation, a legal stipulation that the city had to honour. And we're going to see that little garden in a moment as we go under the main road here. So we're heading through the subway. And Nikki, you're gonna tell us about, are you doing the Marquis of Bute?
I think so.
Yes, you are. Yeah. Let's come out of here, and then we'll see Friary Gardens, and then we'll actually see a statue of him in the middle of them. He didn't ask that a statue of himself be placed in the garden that he insisted be kept, but it was felt that in recognition of his contribution to this city, that would be the perfect place for them to put the statue of him. So as we come up the ramp here, we're going to see this little gardens. We're not going to go into the gardens because the hedges are laid out as kind of a maze, and two people joined together, joined to a phone and gimbal by wires.
Not going to work.
With one of them blind, being guided by somebody else. I think you can see the problem with trying to work our way through a maze, even one where you can see over the hedges. So we're going to be taking the sensible option. Oh, we've come out the wrong way though.
Wowza, have we?
Oh no, he's over there. There he is.
There he is.
Okay, so let's go across here. Okay, with me?
Yep.
So tell us a bit about him, Nicki. Our old Marquis, the third Marquis.
Well, he lived up in Scotland, but he realised that in the South Wales valleys in South Wales, there was a lot of money to be made by coal. So he had the docks built so that the coal could be exported, and Cardiff became the biggest exporter of coal in the world. And then loads of people came to sort of live in the docks or work in the docks and then live in the city. And he made lots and lots and lots of money that way. And then they named the Butte Park after his son, wasn't it, I think?
Jenny's asking, was he from the Isle of Bute?
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he sort of, he must have had some affiliation with it, but he was from Scotland. His name was actually called John Crichton Stewart.
So he was part of the Stewart family, wasn't he?
Yes.
On the English throne at one time. He was an offshoot of the Stewart family.
Very Scottish name.
So, and there he is in this little triangular garden. It's called Friary Gardens because in the medieval period there was a little, the Greyfriars monastery was here. It's called Friary Gardens. Okay, so let's take a walk a little bit further, shall we? And we're teasing you a little bit as the sun starts to go down. We're getting a beautiful view here across the outer walls of Cardiff Castle, and we're going to tease you because we are going to show you the castle very close, but we're going to have a couple of little glimpses of it along the way. And the castle is brilliant. It's an absolutely superb place to visit, right in the middle of the city. And it was on the site of a Roman fortification, which was one of the kind of earliest permanent settlements that has been kind of identified by archaeologists on the site of modern day Cardiff. So when a castle came to be built here, they sort of recognised that was a good place to build it. So Nicki, you wanted to tell? Did you say you wanted to tell us something about the history of the Welsh capital?
Yeah, so in the very, very olden days, sort of in the 1200s, the capital was actually something called, and I think this is an amazing name, Strata Florida Abbey. And Strata Florida was Latin for Vale of Flowers. And then in I don't know when it was, but it became Machynlleth in the 1400s. And that was when Owen Glendower got involved with everything, but we're going to hear more about him later. And so it was Machynlleth for a long, long time until 1955 when Cardiff became the capital. So yeah, it's had quite a few capitals.
Strata Florida,
yeah, it's lovely, isn't it?
Florida and Wales, what have they got in common? We don't think of much. Beautiful beaches, not like here.
Yeah, and I'm sure at some point in time somebody has called their child Strata Florida. If not, someone's probably going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the capital these days. It's the seat of the Welsh Assembly government. We saw that building on our tour down in the bay earlier. And about 400,000 inhabitants these days.
Yeah, or just under 500,000.
It's like a little bit.
Yeah, and in the census, when the first census was done in 1801, the first official census, we only had 1,870 people. which is quite good going considering that places like Merthyr Tydfil had 6,000 and Swansea had about 6,500. And then I think with the introduction of the docks and the sailors settling here, it just became really cosmopolitan. At one time, there were 50 different nationalities living in Cardiff, and that made it one of the most cosmopolitan places in the world at the time.
Yeah, I think the port cities were all kind of some of the first multicultural and multi-ethnic cities, weren't they? Because people came there from all over the world.
Yeah, we had a big Irish population.
Big Irish population because boats had come to Cardiff direct from Ireland. There was migration from Cardiff to the States as well.
Very much. Yeah.
So, it played a big role in all of these events, but it was only really the 19th century that Cardiff grew to anything like a large city. Now, we saw a little while ago a statue of David Lloyd George, and in a moment we're going to just turn at the corner, and Nicky's going to tell us about another great Welsh politician, but let's just get around the corner off the main road first.
Yep.
And I'll give you a last tease of the castle for now. These huge castle walls surrounding that fantastic area of Cardiff Castle. It's a very pleasant city to live in, and a popular student city.
Yeah, we've got 3 universities. Well, 2.5. We've got Cardiff University and Cardiff Metropolitan. But we've also got a campus from the University of South Wales. So they've got a campus here. So very, very big student population.
And the music and everything like that as well, of course. That's a big thing. So let me put the gimbal in the other hand and we can go over here and Nicky can tell us about another great Welsh politician.
Yeah, he's probably my favourite. If I had to have a favourite Welsh politician apart from Mark Drakeford, who's our First Minister, he'd probably be it.
Okay, so just squeezing through a gap without doing anything. Here he is. Okay, so tell us about him.
This is a statue of Aneurin Bevan. Now, he was born in the 1890s in a place called Tredegar in the South Wales Valleys. And so he kind of grew up in the mining community and he was really aware of the amount of poverty and illness and everything that sort of came with having miners. And he was actually in the general strike in 1926. He led one of the miners' unions, so he was sort of quite big in that area. Then he became a Labour politician. But his really, really big thing that he did was in 1948, he helped to set up what we call now as the National Health Service. And that has been going now for just over 70 years. And so he is responsible for that. And another fact, the very first baby on the NHS, when she was born, her mum didn't know what to call her. And the doctor said, well, why don't you call her Aneurin, which is the feminine version of Aneurin? So she was called Aneurin after him. But, he became shadow foreign secretary under Hugh Gaitskell as well. But I think he was one of those politicians that didn't suffer fools gladly, and he sort of resigned when they wanted to charge people for glasses and they wanted to charge people for having mental health care. And, of course, he wasn't having any of that, so he resigned. But, yeah, he's phenomenal.
What a great contribution, MB, as you say.
Yeah.
The NHS is a huge deal, it's...
Absolutely.
It's one of the, there's a reason it's one of the most important political issues always here in the UK. The fact that we have this National Health Service free at the point of use. It's something we're very... You had a student with the surname of Bevans. You wonder if it's Welsh. Well, could well be. So we're going to make our way down a little bit into the area of Cardiff, the centre, the main shopping area of Cardiff. This is St John Street. And like every city around at the moment, Christmas markets dotted around. You okay? Still got the wire? Yep.
Still got it.
So I felt one bump against my leg. We are all connected here by wires, but the wire the wire on my double mic is so long. Nikki could stand by the museum, I could stand by the castle, and we'd still be connected by these wires. Burger King is way too big. Maybe. My gimbal's getting a bit wobbly here. There's a phrase I never thought I'd say 2 years ago.
Can't have a wobbly gimbal.
Now, we're coming up to a pub here on the corner, and the pub itself is not a particularly exciting building in terms of it being a relatively modern building in the middle of the Christmas markets here. But the name of the pub is very important because it's named after one of the most important figures in Welsh history. And we can see a picture of him up there. He actually looks a bit like the actor Jason Momoa in that shot. I don't know whether he actually did. I doubt it. But Owen Glendower, and I think Nikki can tell us, can jump up and down and be very North Wales and proud about Owen
good
Glendower.
old Owen. Owen Glendower, or as his name is pronounced in Welsh, Owain Glendower. He was born sort of in the 14th century. But in 1400, he had a bit of a row because someone stole his land and the king wouldn't back him up. So he went, I'm not having any of this. So he officially decided that he was going to be, in effect, the King of Wales. So he was actually the first noble Prince of Wales. And he did a lot of jumping up and down. He went and captured a load of castles and genuinely said, look, this isn't how things are meant to work out. I am officially going to be the ruler of Wales. And in Wrexham, we have a university that's named after him, such is his sort of infamy or fame and respect.
And of course, one of the places he came and attacked was Cardiff.
Yeah.
Because Cardiff, although it's now the capital of Wales, was very much an English settlement at that time. It was the castle in Cardiff was held by the English crown and English noblemen as part of their efforts to control the borderlands and the Welsh peoples. So even though it's quite strange to think of a great Welsh national hero attacking Cardiff because it's now the capital, back then things were a little bit different. MB, no, he's not Owen Tudor, is someone else completely different. Yeah. The Tudors were a South Wales family. And so he's got the pub named after him right in the centre of Cardiff here. And above the door, Croeso, welcome. There we have, Nikki said, Croeso at the start of the tour. That's the Welsh word for welcome.
Yep.
Hello.
Hello.
Now, this street we walk down is called St John's Street, and that's because it leads to St John's Church. And St John's Church originally was built in the 12th century because the previous church that had been built in the town of Cardiff at that time, St Mary's, wasn't quite big enough, and so they needed a second church, and that's why St John's was built. It was extended to pretty much the form we see today in the 15th century, and then in the 17th century, the original main church of the town, St Mary's, was destroyed by flooding. It was down by the river. And St John's became the main church of Cardiff at that time. And it's the only medieval building in the centre of Cardiff apart from the castle. It's really one of the oldest buildings we're going to see on our tour. So 15th century tower. It was renovated in the 19th century, as so many of our medieval churches were. But a fantastic building right here in the heart of the city. Okay, so let's go around here a little bit. Oh, we'll go and have a look around the side of the church because there's something interesting there earlier, wasn't there?
When you sat off like that, Ian, I almost forgot that you weren't James on his lead, and I literally went, steady.
Steady. Don't tell me to sit or stay when we get to the side of the road. Leave it.
Yeah. No, you can't have that donut.
Oh. I think I probably need someone to talk to me as though I was a dog on a lead. You're giving Sally Jane ideas here. So, like, you know, every city, modern chains, but we're going to go around this way in a moment. But I wanted to take you down along the side of the church because just as we were walking through the city earlier on our way to start the tour, hopefully they're going to still be there.
Yeah.
I'll be disappointed if they're not.
Oh, I hope they are.
I'm guessing they're part of the, they're going to be used in the nativity and the Christmas festivities at the church.
I hope they haven't.
Oh, no, they're still here.
Yay!
We have some beautiful donkeys
Two
here.
little donkeys,
Look
is
at these. We're not going to sing little donkeys. Look at the lovely donkeys. Aren't they gorgeous? One of my favourite animals. Do you know what the Welsh for donkey is?
Donkey. I don't know. Donkey.
I don't know.
I don't know. Do you know what it is, Claire?
Kettle is horse.
Oh, kettle. Oh. I don't know what the Welsh for donkey is.
There's the donkeys.
Donkey bar.
Yeah, Rebecca, I love donkeys too. Burros, yeah, in burritos in Spanish, in German. In German, Danke. They're easel in German.
Easel.
I know they're an easel, isn't it?
Oh, bless them.
So this is the entrance to Cardiff's Market Hall. There have been markets in the streets around here for hundreds of years, but in 1891 the city built sort of an official indoor market hall. We're going to go around it rather than walk through it. It's a bit busy to negotiate through, but one of the first stalls that you come to when you go into the market is a fishmonger's. And actually the family who operates that fishmonger's stall in the market still today, they have been operating a fishmonger's shop on that very spot since before this market was ever built. So it's kind of almost in a way built around their existing business. So still selling fish to the good people of Cardiff for several hundred years.
Oh, bye donkeys.
Bye donkeys. Oh, I like them. Yeah, they're one of my favourite animals, donkeys, you know.
I don't like them. I got bitten by one.
Danke, I love that. Danke the donkey.
Danke the donkey. Yeah, I fed one once and Mum said, right, take your hand out the bag now, we'll go and feed someone else. And the donkey, I couldn't because the donkey had the bag and my hand in its mouth. And like the farmer had to come along and say, come on, buddy, let go. And I had to have a tetanus injection. So I kind of don't like donkeys as much as you. Yeah, my love for donkeys is not strong.
What have we had? We had someone getting bitten by a penguin, they told me on the tour last week.
Oh!
We got you getting attacked by a donkey.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Anybody else ever been on the tour?
Savaged
ever been nibbled by a strange animal, you know?
By savaged by a wild beast.
Does it feel a really bad joke, Hans? Oh, I think it deserves one. Thank you. I liked it, actually.
I wish they could smell all the lovely smells that we're walking past.
Yeah, when you go through the food places, it's nice, isn't it?
So many lovely... This is a really cool big issue, guy. Listen to this guy singing.
So one of the things that Welsh people are famous for, singing, and this guy's selling The Big Issue, which if you're not from the UK, The Big Issue is a magazine that's published, and the idea is that homeless people can sell The Big Issue to make some money. And I remember Paul, my colleague in Edinburgh, saying that he used to sell The Big Issue, and then when he became a guide, he actually appeared in an article in it.
Would you like to
Oh, Nikki.
Oh, it's lovely to see you again.
We've already been here. You nobbled us once today.
Oh, he's lovely. Oh. And I don't know if Becky's still listening, but he's dressed up as a reindeer, isn't he, Sally Jane? He's kind of got like reindeer things on him.
I'm sorry, guys. My gimbal has started doing strange things. I'm going to need to turn it off and back on again. If in doubt.
I just heard the donkey's earring.
What is going on here?
The donkey just went.
Sorry, guys. Trying to get my gimbal to do what it needs to do. No, it's not doing it. There. Oh, no, I thought it was going to. Might be. Are you okay? Can you come a bit closer to me?
Yeah.
I think it's this. I think it's this that's causing the gimbal to.
What's that?
The weight of all the cable dangling from it. Oh, sorry, Claire. We've got Claire's hair.
Oh, blimey.
Now I need to flip the gimbal round. Okay, there we go.
You're not very nimble with your gimbal.
It's the weight of. I told you I've got about 3 miles of microphone cable here.
It's an adventure.
It's how you could do a tour from the opposite sides of the same city. So we wanted to show you the other entrance to the market because the market hall was formerly the site of the jail, and we've got a little story to tell you about one of the famous executions that took place outside the jail. So whenever people go into the market since 1891 to buy some bread or some apples or some fish from the fishmongers, they are actually walking over the place where the executions used to be carried out, which was right here. And Nikki's going to tell us about one of those.
Yeah, one of the most sort of infamous, or I find it quite sad, is in 1831. There was a lot of trouble in the mining communities, particularly in Merthyr Tydfil, where people weren't really being paid properly. There was a lot of food shortages. And one day people just thought, we've had enough. So it was called the Merthyr Uprising. It was just a major riot. I think 16 people were killed. But the people sent the army in. And unfortunately, one of the soldiers was stabbed in the leg with the bayonet, which was sort of on the end of a gun. But they didn't know who did it. And one of the people that was standing there, he wasn't taking part in the riots, but he happened to be there. And his name was Richard Lewis, but he was always known as Dick Penderyn. And Penderyn is the place where he was from. And Dick is obviously short for Richard. And so, unfortunately, they said, well, it must have been you. So my microphone keeps wandering around. They arrested him and his brother, who was called Lewis. But then they found out that Lewis had actually tried to save somebody's life. So they said, well, we'll let you go. But they hanged poor Dick Penderyn. And he suffered for a crime that he didn't commit. And then it was only a few years later, on someone's deathbed, when he said he was the guy who stabbed the man in the leg, the Captain Black in the leg. And then someone else came along and said, I lied on the witness stand. But by then it was all too late for poor Dick Penderyn.
Oh, gosh. And the other interesting thing about that particular uprising that happened in Merthyr was that when there'd been a scuffle initially, let's walk while we talk on this bit. There'd initially been a scuffle, and some of the workers had been wounded, and they had a cloth that they used, and they used it to kind of wipe themselves clean of some of the blood, and the cloth they used was essentially ended up being just a big red rag. And what they then did was hoisted that on the end of a pole and used that as their kind of rallying point for their uprising. So that is the first recorded time in history where the common people, the working people, used the red flag as a symbol of the working man in an uprising against exploitation. And of course, it became the symbol of socialism and of the working classes in political struggles until the present day. But that is believed to be where it comes from. So let's make our way up to the castle, should we?
Yeah, let's.
And I think we should. I think you should tell us a couple of those little bits of Welsh English as well that we had earlier. That we, for those who weren't there.
Yeah. So in the last tour, I taught you all the people that were on that tour some what we call Wenglish, and that's sort of Welsh English. So it's not Welsh, but they're sort of idioms that have sort of come to be known as quite Welsh. So something you might hear people say is the word tidy. So they might say, oh, that's tidy, that is. And that means great or fantastic or super. So, no, it doesn't mean nice and clean and neat. Another thing you'll hear someone say is if you say, oh, can you buy me a drink? They'll say, I'll do it now in a minute. And that can mean any time between now or in the future, but it certainly won't be in a minute. Another thing people like to say is, which is quite confusing for blind people, you'll say, is there a seat here? And they'll say, oh, it's over by there. It's over by you. So that's quite confusing. But the one that really, really got me when I first moved to Cardiff, which was 8 years ago from North Wales, people kept saying, can I smooth your dog? And I thought, well, he doesn't need ironing. He's absolutely fine. And so one day I thought, what's going on? So when someone said, can I smooth your dog? I put my hand out to see what was happening, and they were stroking him. So the word smooth means stroke. So, quite a few sort of funny phrases that we have in Cardiff and in South Wales.
Okay, so let's head across here, and we're going to maybe need to cut the last little bit off because signal, no battery. Okay. Oh, we've lost the gimbal again.
The gimbal's gone wobbling.
Okay, let's. Sorry about that. This is just. So while we're waiting to cross the road, I'll tell you about what's on the other side. This is the main entrance to Cardiff Castle. So there's been a castle on this site. There were Roman fortifications here, but the original castle built on this site was by the Normans. And so the Normans conquered England in the latter part of the 11th century. And as they were pushing west, they wanted to bring this part of the world under their control. And so just as we see in places like Ludlow and Shrewsbury, they built castles to control the Welsh border areas. And so the first castle was built here around that time. And it's still here. We're going to go and take a quick look at that. And so let's, we can't go all the way in because you do have to pay, but we'll be able to see the original fortification on its mound. So that's the Mott Castle there with the Welsh flag flying usually above it. So this is the door here. I think skip behind it. Yeah, I'll do it another time. I don't know. So there ahead of us, up on the hill, that is the original Norman castle from the 11th century. Most of the rest of what we see is the result of a huge rebuilding of the castle in the 19th century by those chaps again, the Marquises of Bute. And they converted the medieval fortifications that had been here into a huge Gothic manor house, which is absolutely amazing to visit. So you've got the medieval fortifications, and you also got the Victorian Gothic palace here as well, which you can't go into without seeing. without paying to get in. Now let's turn around.
Yep. We're turning.
And we're just going to try and go to our last little place before my battery runs out. MB, is it true that Wales has the most castles in the UK?
I wouldn't be a bit surprised.
It has plenty. I mean, I would say that compared to its size, yes. I mean, obviously England is way, way bigger, and Scotland geographically is way, way bigger. But certainly it has a pretty awesome selection of castles. All of them built for the same reason, and that was to try to bring Wales under the control of the English crown. And it was because of people like Owen Glendower that the English kings thought they needed to build them. Now, the most distinctive landmark of the castle today is this tower. Now, this is part of the Victorian Gothic reconstructions, and the third Marquis of Bute that Nikki was telling us about earlier. When he moved down here, he was a very wealthy young aristocrat, and he had a chap by the name of William Burgess build him his palace, and that tower was essentially his bachelor apartments. So there were a study, a lounge, a room where he could have friends round to play cards and have a drink, rooms with lovely places to read and to have great views all the way down to the docks that the family owned. So that's what this particular thing was built for, this amazing castle tower. Okay, we're very, very close to running out of battery here. So I'm just going to try and quickly take a look at these animals on the animal wall, because I think it's really important to see them.
Yes, I love
Nikki, do you want to tell us just a bit about them, and we can...
Yeah, the animal wall, again, old William Burgess and William Crane were asked if they would design an animal wall. And so in the late 1800s, they designed this wall. And then again in the 1920s, there were more animals added. And you can tell the animals that were added in the 1800s because they've got glass eyes. And I did actually try and remember what 3 animals they were to begin with, and I've forgotten. But I think one of them was a sea lion. But among these animals that were designed for the 1920s were a pair of raccoons and a beaver, but they didn't want a seahorse. And they also had an anteater, only he lost his nose. And so in 2010, they had to they redid the animals, and he had to have his nose put on again.
Yeah, here we've got a lion.
This is our animals.
And we are going to try and walk along as many of them as we can. But my battery is running very low. I only managed to get it partially charged in the car between the 2 tours. So if we disappear, that will be why. No. So I think this is a great chance for us to basically say bye for now.
Thank you.
And thank you so much to everyone for joining us.
Yeah.
Nikki, I'll let you say your thank yous.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you for all the comments and all the, the nice kindness that you've shown. And just thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll be able to do another tour of Cardiff next year.
Yeah, and finish with a beautiful view of the Gothic palace of Cardiff Castle. And thank you so much for joining us today. I love coming down here to Cardiff. I always have loved this city. And thank you to all of you for joining me and Nikki here today. Thank you for your support and good humour. And I hope you've enjoyed these 2 tours. We'll see you very, very soon.
Yeah, see you in Heygo land.
Bye for now, everybody. Bye.